Well, welcome back, everybody. Hope everyone enjoyed the part one of Old Stew, the 1946 Stewart Warner radio. It's already back with its owner, and he's fairly happy, and think he's actually interested in starting restoring radios himself. So we're going to start working with him and hopefully get him into this great hobby. So without further ado, we should finish it up on this this video. So without delay, let's get to part two. All right, I have moved this radio up to workbench number one because it's lower to the ground. I can sit in a regular chair and I can shoot halfway decent video. Now that the cameraman, I can't speak for the cameraman, but I keep breaking in new cameramen over the years, and I can't find one that can do his job right. So anyway, I've got a new cord to go in it. I've got a terminal strip that we're going to relocate the filter capacitor bank. If you'll notice on the schematic here, you've got your filter capacitor, that's the can capacitor, but it is insulated from ground. The ground of the capacitors, all the capacitors, will go to ground, the chassis ground, through a 330 ohm wire wound resistor, which is located near the filter capacitor. We may very well have to relocate it up here just due to the lead length. That shouldn't be an issue. The other, and if I remember correctly, there is just a bypass capacitor right down in here, if you can see the end of my finger. I ran into this on the Firestone Air Chief back 5 or 6 years ago. This push button assembly is in the way. What I ended up doing was just clipping this out, tying it here, and tying it to ground in another spot. All this, the other end of this, is grounded to chassis ground underneath this assembly. So instead of trying to remove all that, I just put it in here and put it to chassis ground in another spot. But work's cut out for me on this, and so we'll get to work on it, and I can sit in a chair and be really comfortable. Okay, I've removed this potentiometer, and I've put a terminal strip where there was another terminal strip here, if you'll remember, and I relocated it here. This is just for the power supply, for the AC voltage, the AC line coming in, just a terminal strip. So I just moved it down here, re-drilled a hole, soldered it back, got it stable, and then I took and put a screw in this. Had to drill this old one out. It was a rivet, so I drilled it out, put a screw back in there, and then I resoldered the ground lug on it. We may end up having to pull this 330 ohm resistor and bring it up here as part of that power supply. Remember, we're going to put all the filter capacitors right here. And I went back and looked at that video of that Firestone Air Chief, and it's almost identical inside here. And I did about the same thing. I had forgotten how I'd done this power supply, so I did it twice. And I've also went ahead and replaced this capacitor, and then I'll start going. Let me swing this up here where you can see this Simpson meter, and I've got the potentiometer. I've sprayed the potentiometer, and let's see, I shorted it out this thin. But as you can see, this is I've got that on times 10,000. That shows 50, so that's 500K. I believe I said 500 meg in one of the earlier videos, but it's 500K. And I like to use a analog meter when I'm testing this. you can see that it's now I've also sprayed this. I haven't taken it apart. I don't think I'm going to have to. I don't think it's linear or audio. It's probably audio taper. It's not linear because it really starts, but it's not jerking or anything like that. Really can't tell a whole lot on a digital meter because of the changing of the auto ranges. It appears to be jumping around on a digital one, but on the analog you can see if it's got making good connection or not. You can see how smooth it looks there. So we'll put it back in there and we'll try it, and I think that's going to be fine. Now it gets a little faster there towards the end, so, but it's not jerky. It's really smooth action there. And so we'll go in here and start replacing these paper caps. And this is the one, well, you can't see it. It's actually a little green one right in there. That's the one. We will just clip the lead here, and the other end goes to a ground. We'll just clip the lead. I actually removed the one in the air chief, but this one I'm just going to clip the lead and come back here for the ground and put the ground here. Bring it up across here. I think that's the way I did it in the air chief, and it worked out just fine. So I think that's because when they built these, they put the capacitors in and then they put this in later. So all this has to be taken out to even do any repair. They didn't think about the poor slob that was going to have to work on this in the future. So let's get replacing some of these capacitors. Let's take a look at our progress. I was working in this area here, so I went ahead and just replaced this coupling capacitor from the first audio tube to the final output tube. So that was a coupler. So I just replaced it while I was there. I started, you remember I put the terminal strip here for my filter caps. I moved the 330 ohm resistor up here. It was reading 337 ohms, so I just kept it. This is the 22 microfarad and this is the 10 microfarad. Now those are the filter caps, and I just moved the wires from the corresponding ones up to here. This is the negative of these capacitors, which goes to ground through that 330 ohm. The 20 ohm that is on the audio tube itself, the positive lead in here goes straight to ground. As you can see, a ground wire right there goes over to here, and these two wires are from the transformer. One is the one side of the filament transformer, the other one is to the case of the transformer. So this goes straight to ground, so I just left this as a terminal strip, and that should take care of all that. These wires here are for the volume control, which we will put back in after I get the other things. And then I'm going to start, and I went for this one because this is the most complicated, and now I'll start going for the deep dive and trying to replace some of these that are harder to get to. That's my next step. I failed to mention the small 20 microfarad capacitor in this capacitor bank here, 59C. It's 20 microfarad at 25 volts, and if you'll see that the ground of it goes to the common one of the other two, which is lifted above ground of the 330 ohm resistor. The positive one went straight to ground, which we saw here. It goes straight to ground. So what I did is, and I don't know if you can see it, there's a small little capacitor under the bottom here. The positive lead of it goes straight to ground here, and the negative lead of that capacitor goes to the common one of the other two, just like the filter can. Slowly working my way through here. If you'll see right back there, I just cut the lead. The other end of it is on the ground, and so I cut the lead, attached this one here, and then brought the ground up to here. Also, this one I cut the lead on this one, did the pigtail here, and then went over here and put it to ground. And I'm just going to leave those two in place. And the rest of these, I think, should be able to get it. I also did this one over in this corner. Going to have to do this one. I think I should be able to get to that with no issue there. It goes here and here. I should be able to just take those out. And then these two here, this one goes to ground here, and so I just took it loose to peel it back so I get down deeper. Sometimes you have to do this. And I left the end attached so I know where it goes, and then I've got this one up here to go to, which should be easy to do, and I should be recapped when I get done with that. Progress report. I went ahead and replaced all these capacitors. I lack this one. I'll do it after I fold this back down and put it in place, but I'll put the cord in before I do this, so it'll give me more room. As you can see, I'm leaving this one in place. The ground end is the only one's attached, and so is this one. But I'm going to get on you guys for a while. In the last video, right in this corner, right in here, and it's gone now, but it was a little piece of a lead that had fell down and was touching the ground, was laying against that. That's something you got to really be careful of. I try to, but sometimes I'll clip it and I can't see it. I try to take, when I clip the lead, and put my pliers on it, on my needle nose, and then cut it and then take it out. But sometimes it doesn't happen, and pieces of wire and solder find their way into and short things out. So I'm going to get on you guys. You saw that and didn't tell me. But that was just a progress report, and we will put the cord in and then fold this back. And we'll do a double check and make sure everything's good. And then maybe put a little power on it. All right, UL knot time. Everybody remember how to do it? Remember, we just love to make the UL knot. This one's in the back, this one's in the front. Of course, this one will come through this hole. This one will go back through this hole. And then we pull it, and there's the UL knot. I think I've got it all back together. Got the potentiometer back in, got the electric cord wired in, the filter cap moved from down there up to this assembly, and all the rest of the capacitors are replaced. We start over. Turn it on, no spikes. Turn the voltage up somewhat. Just a little bit of current, a little bit of glow. Just a few milliamps. So we'll go on up a little bit. We'll run up to about 60 volts. I'm up to about 100, just shy of 200 milliamps. Now this draws about 50 watts, so we're expecting 400, 500 milliamps maybe. Don't hear anything yet. I've got the loop antenna on it. Everything's looking good as far as that.
We'll run on up to about 90. No, here we are, about 75. It's possible to hear stuff around here. Hearing something there. Got some sort of connection issue. Could be some of these antenna wires laying around here. Let me check some of the connections and get back. I can hear a station. You probably can't hear it, but we're drawing about 250 milliamps. Let's go on up in voltage. There's about 110 volts. In the shortwave band. Not hearing anything there. Okay, we've powered it up. We're running about 110 volts and 450 milliamps, which is about right. This station here is in Athens, and I listened long enough. It's 1390 WXYI in Athens, a Christian station on 1390. Which is pretty close. But if you will notice this, this is has been cut with 10 snips. Somewhere down the line, someone has repaired this and has made a dial pointer. You got to give them credit. Not sure when they did it, but they tried, and it probably works. All the power, everything looks good. The dial, now right along here is normally where I get a radio station. Right along in here, and it's off the air right now. Go figure. And so I'm thinking that if we align this and get all the antennas and everything hooked back up the way it should be, then I think it'll be okay. Replaced the dial lamp here, so probably need to spray these out a little bit. But I think it's going to be okay. It came up in power and it's running where it needs to be. And we do pick up and this is a weak station. See, I'm hanging here, so we're going to have to do something here. That is a weak station that I have trouble picking up on other radios. But we are picking it up about where we're supposed to be, and considering that thing's wide as my finger just about, it's going to be close. So I think go through it, realign it, and life will be good. The story continues. Well, I've got old Stu back together. That's the name it's been given during this process. I think in the last one, when I was bringing it up in power, it didn't seem to receive very well. Well, when I went, got to looking at the alignment procedure, it talked about the loop in the very back, the wire loop that went around the cabinet inside, that it needed to be up there, and the other wooden loop kind of in place there. And once I did that, then it started receiving fairly well. Of course, it was the middle of the day, and I went through the alignment procedure, and it fell in pretty good. There was also some modifications that had been done, so I put it back the way it was designed, the way the schematic showed. And I'm not sure why they did it. They bypassed basically one of the RF tubes, so I don't know why they done that, but they did that. Anyway, let's see, it's close to 9 p.m. I'm just going to start at the bottom end of the band and just give a little demonstration. The tone controls. Okay, we'll go on up the band. Not a whole lot here. Let's see if I could see here WSM. There seemed to be a little bit of something there.
2020, the now ex-deputy assistant to the president, who at that point was Rob Flaherty.
There's a station. Start getting some DX stations. You can hear the skip as the sun's going down. You can hear it, that flutter.
Last year, according to Fidelity. We didn't expect that. And here's something that could help.
Maybe you can hear all this. First time I've heard music on some of this upper band.
Eight seven Ford Gold IRA. 8-7 diamond to win you and do you need them? Absolutely. You need to rotate it again. You could go through another few months until you get crappy. Otherwise, if you don't, you get penalized.
So I think that's going to conclude. I'm going to get this back to the owner in the next couple of days or so. Really enjoyed repairing this. I kept this very low budget. I think as far as parts, I've got about $15.50 in it. So, and $10,000 worth of labor. That's what I'm going to charge him. So, he didn't want to put a whole lot into it. I ended up having to buy a tube. One of the tubes was dead totally. The RF tube in the beginning, and that might have been why they bypassed it, is they didn't know the tube was bad, and then they bypassed it. So, but I put a new tube in there and put it back, and it seems to be working okay. So hopefully that'll do good. So that's going to wrap this up. And so from Larry from the hills of Tennessee, thanks for watching.